Welcome back to Talk Today. It's right on 6:30. We'll have the papers in just a minute, but here is what else is coming up on the programme this morning.
Sharing his thoughts on HS2, former Tory chairman Sir Jake Berry joins us live from the party conference in Manchester after 7. Can Rishi Sunak and Suella Braverman stop the boats? One former special advisor to the immigration minister certainly doesn't think so. Find out more just before 8 o'clock. And as junior doctors and consultants continue their walkout this morning, we'll put your concerns to the strikers at 8:10.
Now, let's take a look at some of the morning's front pages. The Times leading with the PM's plans to scrap the northern leg of HS2. The Express focuses on what they call Rishi's path to victory, announcing what's best for Britain, and unforgivable, declare the Daily Mirror, as they speak to the mother of Bradley Lowry after football yobs made fun, this is appalling, of the 6-year-old Sunderland mascot who died in 2017.
Now, the Times' Hugo Rifkind and author and broadcaster Emma Wolfe are here with us for a look through this morning's papers. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Morning, gang. How are we?
Good.
Good.
Hugo's
Who's going to
looking
start?
very up for it today.
Very pumped.
Hugo, you've got our first story.
Yes.
Cover of the Eye.
Yes, this is the farce of HS2, isn't it? Where Rishi Sunak is a dead cert to be cancelling HS2 in the next few days. It's pretty special, I think, to end up in a situation where you're cancelling a railway line to Manchester while you're in Manchester.
Unbelievable.
That's wonderful. I don't know why. I don't know why this isn't regarded as just a great national humiliation.
Yes.
It's only a railway line. It's not a space elevator. It's not an undersea palace. Other countries manage to build railway lines. This one, we've made such a fuss about it. The costs have spiralled out of control. I think it just makes us look dreadful.
So why do you think he hasn't given an answer on it yet?
Well, he doesn't want to. He wants to sort of kick it down. I mean, it's not his fault. This is the legacy of Boris Johnson. Boris Johnson promised to do all kinds of... Boris Johnson did promise us space elevators.
Hugo, he was
and
the
undersea
Chancellor of the
palaces.
Exchequer and the Cabinet, the Secretary to the... He was absolutely centre to this, Rishi
It
Sunak.
predates him. This goes back to Sir Osborne and Cameron and all that. What Rishi Sunak is doing is he's unpicking a lot of the impractical promises that the Tories made for basically a generation, which he's got to do because we've run out of money. But it's only a railway line. Come on.
It's really interesting, Emma. I was speaking to Dave, this morning, who's part of the production team on the show, and he's a big Spurs fan. There's a relevance to what I'm about to tell you. And he said that Daniel Levy, when they built the new stadium at Spurs that cost hundreds of millions of pounds, produced fines to make sure that the thing was on time and anybody that didn't do their piece of work on time did not get paid. There is no doubt, Emma Wolfe, right, in the midst of a cost of living crisis, I said to Henry Morrison, 30 billion's become 100 billion. It is a disgrace, as Hugo says, and people will go, what the hell?
Yeah, but what do we do now? Do we keep throwing good money after bad? This is another 26 billion to extend the northern leg. I think Sunak has to take control. It is out of control. If he can guarantee that money is going to go in the north, and he can't guarantee that because the next government will change their plans and whatever. But if he can guarantee that that will improve infrastructure across the north, and he can still level up and he can still invest that money for the good folk of Manchester and Leeds and all of the other northern towns that need connecting across the country, as well as up and down, because this thing about connecting the north and the south, the pandemic has changed everything. People aren't necessarily wanting to get down and up in the same way. The outline of the plan has changed. The money is out of control. I think Sunak has to do something.
But wasn't it yesterday there was a suggestion of this £700 million for, like, new bus routes in Manchester? Are we really that poor at technological advancement that we're willing to spend 700 million
on routes? We need good trains and buses across the country.
Yes.
They're not going to... I mean, come on. They're not going to spend the money on other nice things. They're going to spend the money on filling the holes we've already got in the finances. You don't scrap a multi-billion-pound
Not the holes
project.
in the road. Hugo.
But do we just carry on with it because it's embarrassing to cancel it?
Yes. I would
It's true.
say.
If you'd paid for an extension on your house and you've got 3/4 the way through and you've just got this gaping wall at the end, you would have it finished. You might get someone who could do the job cheaper, but you'd at least want 4 walls.
I mean, I agree. Charlotte, who works on the show, is having that particular problem. That's another story. The problem is it's become this sort of political hot potato, hasn't it? On the one hand, as I said, you've got to try and convince a public who are literally reeling from the cost of living that 100 billion or an extra 26 billion is worth it. You've got businesses like Henry Morrison saying, we need this. I mean, there are train... I have to say, by the way, as somebody who goes to Newcastle regularly, LNER is the best train line I've ever been on in my life, genuinely. Down south, not as good as that. But the fact of the matter is, he's in no man's land, Sunak, and I'm afraid you will disagree violently. That's what comes if you jump on the back of somebody else and get yourself into power. These are the consequences. He was part of Johnson's government. He wanted this job, and it's coming home to roost for Rishi Sunak. Really believe that.
Yeah,
really believe it.
I don't disagree with any of that. I mean, I will say he does have this whole thing at the moment. He's trying to tilt towards the motorist, be the motorist friend. The way you're the motorist friend is by getting people off the roads, and the way you do that is by building a super fast train line. You know, so it ought to all go together. I think it's looking a bit of a shambles.
It is possible. I was on the Elizabeth line, this wonderful purple line across London the other day, and the Elizabeth line is truly impressive. It's
And
fast,
that was delayed.
it's clean, it was...
And it was over budget.
It was.
And they spent 18 extra billion
But we got there in
pounds
the
on it.
end.
But we got there in the end. So why is it different between
There are lots
London
of cancellations.
and Manchester?
There are lots of cancellations.
Yes, I know, but
It's 'cause it's London.
People stuck with it because it's London, and I'm with Andy Burnham.
We can have nice things in London.
Exactly.
Other people, not so much.
I'm with Andy Burnham when he says people of the North, Manchester, etc., are treated like
People of the North.
class citizens.
Move
They
it on,
finish
Bristol.
projects in London, they don't finish them up north.
Move it on.
Right, the second story. This is on the front page of The Telegraph. It says trans women will be banned from female hospital wards under the Health Secretary's plans to restore common sense to the NHS, Emma.
Yeah, so this is Steve Barclay, the Health Secretary, talking about pushing back against wokery among, in the NHS and on hospital wards. And he's saying that actually we all have the right to dignity, we all have the right to single-sex spaces within our hospitals, that we don't want trans women on female wards. I think that in hospitals, you are in a vulnerable position. Whether you're ill, you're recovering from an operation, you're having a baby, you need to know that you feel comfortable, that you are safe, and that you are not going to be made to feel in any way uncomfortable or anxious. If you're an older lady, you're going to the lavatory in the middle of the night, you're wearing a hospital gown, I think it is right to keep hospitals single-sex spaces. I think this is absolutely correct, and it makes sense, and it very much resonates with what patients want.
Does it not give off this impression, though, that so often comes up when we discuss trans people, that trans women are somehow inherently a danger, that people who are born male, men, are inherently a danger to women, which I don't think is the case. And if you are saying, therefore, that somebody... Because you've surely met trans women in your life.
Yes.
And to every intent and purpose, you wouldn't even know that they were trans.
Can I pick up on something?
Let me finish on this one.
Hospitals are a different environment.
Hospitals are a different environment, but there are trans
Changing rooms.
men out there who, to all intents and purposes, look extremely masculine and extremely male, and they would then, therefore, be in female wards.
Nick, can I say something? And I've always, I think it's a very dangerous subject to get involved with.
It doesn't have to be.
Something that was said by Emma Wolfe really resonates with me. Specifically, hear me out. Everybody should feel comfortable. The problem I have with this debate and so many other debates is it's only looked at from one angle. So whether you're an older woman or a trans person, whatever you are, you should have the right to that dignity. Yes. I fear that, as with so many things in this country, whoever jump on the back of it, and a lot of ordinary, everyday people are too scared to have. Everybody should feel comfortable.
Everybody should feel comfortable, which is why a ban doesn't work.
Another way of looking at this story, pretty much, as a general rule of thumb, stories about trans issues, with a couple of exceptions, with the exception of prisons and schools, are nonsense. This is nonsense. 0.5% of people in the country are trans, at best. That means on the average ward, the number of trans people is going to be none.
Yeah,
this is a problem that is hardly ever going to arise.
Onto women's wards.
And you do not need the Health Secretary banging a drum about it.
Precisely. It's this instilling a state of fear, I think, in a population that trans people are somehow a danger or are desperately trying to infiltrate wards, which is just not the case.
No, but Nicola, I think it's an important principle that we have to grapple with. I swim, for example. How would I feel about a trans woman turning up in the showers in the women's changing room?
But how would you feel about a trans man coming into your change room then?
We just have to be really clear where we stand on this.
You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know if a trans man, a masculine trans man, came into your dressing room, you'd feel just as uncomfortable. No, because they look, to all intents and purposes, masculine. No?
I don't understand what you mean. A trans man,
so somebody who was assigned female at birth, so born female, has transitioned to being male, is to all intents and purposes a very masculine.
Well, then they wouldn't be in the women. They wouldn't be in the women's.
But they would if you said that it was down to genitalia rather than gender identity.
Yeah, I know, and it's a very, very knotty issue, and I think that we need clarity on this, and I think that we need a kind of a more open debate, and it's very, very difficult to discuss it because every time you do, there's a lot of abuse and anger and rage.
Well, brilliant. The reason I kept quiet is I'm moving it on. There's lots to talk about in the papers this morning, but I have
It's good to talk about. It's good to debate and get different people's points of view.
But it is interesting.
But
it is interesting, and I genuinely mean this. I've been a broadcaster for 20 years. It's one of those things that I think, oh my God, I'm going to say the wrong thing. I genuinely think that needs to be put out there. Hear me out, right? I think it's been hijacked. There's a lot of people that hijack the latest thing to talk about. That's what does my head in, and everybody should be entitled to their opinion. I'm going to bring it right down. I know that Hugo and Emma, you're very classy. We're going to the Star in this next segment. This is down to you, Hugo. Only Hugo Rifkin could deliver this as he's about to. Front of the Star.
I'm so confused by this story. In Dorset, the search is on for an escaped deaf pet skunk. Many questions. Who has a pet skunk?
Yes.
Who cares that it's deaf? Does this make a difference with skunks? Do they normally come?
I've got a question.
Do they normally
How
come
do they
when you
find
call?
out it was deaf?
I guess it doesn't come when you call.
Do skunks come when you call them?
I don't know. And also, it has escaped. Apparently, what one should not do is approach it from behind, because then it might eject the skunkiness. I was Googling this. Apparently, skunks escape quite a lot. One escaped in North London only last year, never to be found.
If you, just holding on, if it's deaf...
Yes.
And you're trying to find it.
Yes, tricky.
And you were approaching it from behind, irrespective of the smell that might emanate, it wouldn't know that you were approaching
wouldn't actually be that shocked.
Until the last minute.
Unbelievable. Why are we doing this?
But also the poor... Like, if you're a skunk, you lose your sense of smell. That's probably good. You're deaf, that's a blow.
Emma, why are people keeping skunks as
Why are
pets?
they keeping skunks?
Yeah,
I was excited. I thought we were going to talk about drugs, and I said, aha, skunk. And actually, this is a deaf skunk.
This has gone right downhill.
I love that.
From trans to a drug-taking deaf skunk.
You thought you were going to talk about the legalisation of cannabis, but no, we're
Legalisation
talking
of cannabis.
about...
Serious issues.
Have you ever had a pet skunk? Nobody.
I thought you were going to ask if she'd ever smoked.
Can I just tell you,
No
could anybody email or text in, irrespective of HS2 and the Tory debacle and everything that's going on with the doctors today, have you ever had a pet skunk? 877. Send us a picture.
I want to know, photos of your weirdest pets. Can we do that?
Oh, God.
I would love that, please.
Right.
You can email talktoday@talk.tv. You can tweet us at TalkTV. You can text talk plus your picture message to 87222. Well, thank you so much to Hugo and Emma.
Thank you,
will
gang.
be back in just under an hour.
Now those